What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the two-gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. So welcome back to another Midday Monologue Monday. So, a few weeks back, something interesting happened. Something nice, interesting, happened to me, and it's been floating around the back of my head, and I think maybe I'd just like to talk about it for a few minutes. Something that happened to me with somebody I sort of tertiarily know from near my job site. So I've also made it a little bit of a surprise. But yeah, why don't we sit down at the table, and I guess this would fall into the category of a question I sometimes get asked. And I think that falls under the category today of why I like tabletop adventuring. So why don't I see you down at the table, and we'll talk about this.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you so much for deciding to spend a little time with me, a few minutes of your life, and coming down here for Midday Monologue Monday. So as I said, there was an incident that happened. Incident makes it sound kind of negative. And it definitely wasn't. Also makes it sound a little dramatic, and that's not really the case. So I was getting off from work, I was on my way heading home, and I ran into a gentleman that I see from time to time in the neighborhood from where I work. And we've spoken in the past a few times. He knows me by name. He actually knows about this channel. And he stopped me and he wanted to thank me because he told me him and his kid watched a few of my videos, and one of them that they watched was the Who the Heck is Big Johnny G video, a little intro thing that I did a couple of years ago when me and Tommy V started this. And what he said was like a part of me, because when they watched it, his kid, his son, is really going through the same thing I did when I was his age. He doesn't like anything that's supposed to be traditionally liked by a kid or by a boy or by a person. You know, things like sports and cars and hiking and fishing. Kid had absolutely no interest in any of this. And of course the parents were getting a little bit worried. I mean, that's understandable. But they had noticed that the kid does like to play games. And now that they've started watching my videos and others, this has kind of opened something up to them now. And they see that there is this whole huge world out there. It's not just Monopoly and Chutes and Ladders and Life, Stratego and Risk. That there's literally this gigantic world of tabletop gaming out there. Pretty much anything you can imagine, you can find a tabletop game of. And it's so much better for him and his son now, because the kid is really identifying with this. From everything from cooperative games to versus games, the kid doesn't really seem to care. He likes the connection that happens at a table. And that to hear that was something that really struck me as like, I remember all of that. Because that's kind of my story too. And that's what brings me here today. Tabletop gaming, or as I like to say, going on a tabletop adventure, is something really unique. Compared to what's going on nowadays, that is. I mean, comparing it to video games. And I think one of the reasons why there's been this continuous surge for a while now of a growing interest in tabletop board games is because even though people still enjoy video games and have fun with them, every tabletop gamer I know loves playing video games of one type or another. But it's different. When you're playing online with other people, it's not the same thing as sitting down in front of each other and being able to read body language and being able to pick up on subtle, cues in one's tone and inflections that could get lost, over the airwaves. It's a difference that really matters, because so much of human communication happens on a non-verbal level, and you miss out on that. So no matter how much you love video games, you know, it's like you're only getting half the vitamins you need, so to speak. And that's one of the, and I'm the only one that thinks this way. It's not my theory or anything, but it is something I agree with. And I think this is one of the reasons why tabletop gaming is coming back so much. And bringing this all together, you know, is when you do sit down with people, it is a great form of interaction. And tabletop games have taught me so much that people are surprised about. You know what I mean? On the level that because I didn't like playing sports, they're surprised to find out that I have a very strong understanding of team play. And that's because of RPGs. Everyone in the game, everyone in the group, everyone in the party, everyone on the team has a role. And if you guys are going to survive, it's best to work together and help each other out and let each other do what they got to do, even if you don't get the glory at that moment. That's teamwork. I didn't need sports to learn that, to have that drilled into me, to give me that sense of, yeah, that's kind of common sense. I got that from gaming. Competitiveness. No, not all games are cooperative. In fact, most board games, and especially almost all traditional board games, classic ones, are all versus all. They're competitive games. Some of them are all versus one. But, you know, the classic golden age of board games, that's all they were. Who was the best player at the board game? Whether it was a board game of just pure luck and rolling the die, or whether it was a game that had a little bit of strategy to it. Yeah, like tic-tac-toe or checkers. It was still competitive. And that's where I learned my competitive streak. I learned to be a good winner, as well as be a good loser, again, through board games. It seems like everything one would expect a kid to learn from sports, I was very easily able to pick up those very same lessons from tabletop games, and it gave me so much joy sitting there with my friends. And you know, I possibly one of the reasons I didn't like being physically competitive in sports with my friends is I was literally a head taller and a shoulder wider than all of my friends of the same age, and I didn't like hurting them. You know, in a sports game anyway. I mean, I grew up in the 70s. Trust me, I had to hurt them sometimes, and they had to try to hurt me back. You know, but as far as playing games and being friends go, and no street politics, I mean, just playing a game as friends, I didn't want to hurt them. And a lot of times that's what ended up happening. And if it wasn't a game that was physical, it was a game that, well, not physical, I mean, you know, a contact. If it wasn't a full contact thing, like football, then it was a game that I just completely couldn't play because my size made me too slow. I was no good at two-hand touch football. You know, that was the big difference. If it was tackle football, everyone wanted to choose me first. If it was two-hand touch, nobody wanted me on their team. And that's you know, kind of like the story of my life with sports. So I really didn't care. It meant nothing to me. When I, you know, got this interest, when I got introduced to RPGs and tabletop games, I know how that guy's son felt. It's an opening up. It's discovering who you are, and at the same time discovering it's fine. This is who you are, and it's okay. You're cool. Have fun with it. Because not everybody goes through this life figuring out who they are. I know people my age, people I grew up with, that are approaching 50 years old, and they still have no idea who they are. So if you find out if you find out who you are, you know, when you're not that old at all, bless you. Because that's going to be a little bit easier in your life, because that's one thing you're not going to have to struggle with trying to figure out. And that made me happy. And that's all because of Tabletop Adventures. You know, and the last thing I want to say about this is some of my oldest friends, I mean literally oldest friends. You see T-Bone on the show with me. He moved around the corner from me when he was probably about 5 or 6. He couldn't have been older than 6. And that's when we met. And look at this. 44, 45 years later, and we're still great friends. My buddy Dennis, who I grew up with, right above me a few floors. We're still best of buds. We're still brothers in arms. We played all these games together. They really did help form a lot of strong friendships from a very young age that I still have today. And not just word of mouth friendships. Friendships with people that still come by, still hang out, we still get together. And we have great laughs. And I wouldn't have it with these people if it wasn't for tabletop gaming. So if you're trying to figure out who you are and who to be happy with, or how to be happy with who you are, just let it all go. Try something. Eventually something will click. Maybe it'll be tabletop gaming. Maybe it'll be competitive mathletics. I don't know. But whatever it is, run with it. If it's tabletop gaming, make sure to tell me about it. Come on back and we'll talk some more. But that's why I love tabletop gaming. Why do you love it? Well, thank you for checking us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. You all know that we have the Zazzle store. We got some cool shirts like Interstate D20, and mugs and hats and buttons and pins, and I don't know. If I could slap a logo on it, I did. Maybe you'll find something there you like. Thank you so much for coming by YouTube and subscribing and hitting that notify bell. For checking out our videos, for liking them, for commenting. Thank you so much for sharing and getting the word out about Two Gun Pixie and letting people know about us. It's the best gift. That is the best gift you can ever give us. So I'm your buddy Big Johnny G. Two Gun Pixie presents. Legendary Gaming. And my friends, I am out of here!